Space, the Final Frontier. Oh, sorry, wrong show. This is Canadian Justice, and I'm Christine Van Gyn. And today we're discussing, you guessed it, the law of space. The term space law is used to describe the rules, principles, and standards of international law in a variety of treaties and principles developed by the United Nations. In addition to these international treaties, many nations have their own domestic legislation governing space. The Canadian Space Agency has been working on an update to their space policy framework. Canada has long been a leading presence in space exploration, perhaps most famously for inventing the Canadarm, a robotic arm used to fix things on the International Space Station, and for being home to some famous astronauts like Roberta Bondar and Chris Hadfield. What do we need to know about the laws of space, and how might these laws develop in the future? Here today to discuss this fascinating topic are two experts, Dr. Jakhu and Kuan-Wei Chen. Thank you both so much for joining me today. I guess let's start on Earth and work our way up. Dr. Jakhu, I'm interested in the laws around space rocket launches and development, including private development, like we're seeing from Elon Musk's company SpaceX. Mr. Musk has sort of famously touted Texas as a jurisdiction where he can blow up rockets, which I guess seems surprising since you would think rockets are subject to federal regulation. What can you tell us about local, national, and international laws governing rocket testing and launching?
Wow, that's a big question. First thing is what I always say is there is no place where you see the potatoes and laws are everywhere. So naturally, space activities are governed by laws. And you said correctly, international, national, local laws all over. So let's just start with international. First, the international law has been developed since, I would say, 1967, if not a little earlier, which governs all kind of space activities in space, and including launch services. Launch services, as you know, they are the rockets which were manufactured or designed or built for as missiles. So they are heavily regulated internationally and more at national level. So if you want to launch a satellite, and then that the two things are very important. First thing is who should be allowed to launch. So that means you need a license. At that license requirement is, of course, mandated at international level, but it is implemented through national legislations. So in somebody in the United States want to go, again, you said Elon Musk wants to launch a satellite, he or his company needs a license from the US government. So that is very important. The related to that is in case this launcher or rocket causes damage, and then the question of liability. So here is a little different from the terrestrial laws. So at international level, it's the responsibility and liability of the government of United States in this case, rather than Elon Musk. Of course, when the license is issued by US government requires SpaceX to procure insurance to cover the license in case US government is required to pay compensation for any damage caused by a satellite launch by Elon Musk. So this is essentially a combination of international law and national law. But in the US, I'm not an expert in the US law, but I am quite aware of that there are laws at state level. States have their own laws and they regulate quite a few things. For example, spaceports and then zoning, labor, environmental issues. So in the US, space law is a very complex field of law.
Mr. Kuan-Wei, I'm sorry. We've only got about 40 seconds, but we're going to go into the next segment. But I want to, in the next segment, talk about the laws governing the satellites once they are in space. So, for example, can you just leave a broken satellite orbiting the Earth? What happens if two satellites in orbit crash into each other? What if one's a government satellite and one's private? Or what if a satellite left in orbit or a piece of space junk orbiting the Earth causes damage to something on its way up, or falls from orbit, damaging something on Earth or someone's property on Earth. We've got to go to break. I don't want to leave you to answer all of that with this short amount of time, but we will talk about it when we come back.